Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Kirivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Kirivardhari Yasodhanana Vrajadhana Ranjana Vrajadhana Ranjana Yasodhanana Vrajadhana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jai Om Vishnupat Paramahamsa Prabhupada Stotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Gauri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Gantaraja Ki Oh glories to the assembled devotees Oh glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Guru Premanand Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Today we are studying Canto 10, Chapter 1, Text 38, the Advent of the Lord Krishna, Introduction. Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Saha Jayate Odya Babda Satante Va Mrityur By Pradinam Dhruva Mrityo Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Ajavabda Satante Vap Mrityur Vai Pradinam Dhruva Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Vajavabda Satante Vap Mrityur Vai Pradinam Dhruva Ritu Janmavatam Viram Hena Sajayate Adeva Dasanteva Mrityu Vai Paninam Dhruva Mrityu Janmavatam Viram Hena Sajayate Ajavabdastanteva Mataji's Tambira Vitina Sajayate Devadasanteva Mitruva Pradinam Dhruva Mrityu Death Janmavatam of the living entities who have taken birth. Vira, O great hero, Dehanasaha, along with the body, Jayate is born. One who has taken birth is sure to die. Adya, today, Va, either, Abdasata, of hundreds of years, Ante, at the end, Va, or Mrityu, death, by, indeed, Paraninam, for every living entity. Dhruva is assured. Translation: O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Vasudeva wanted to impress upon Kamsa that although Kamsa feared dying and therefore wanted to kill even a woman, he could not avoid death. Death is sure. Why then should Kamsa do something that would be detrimental to his reputation and that of his family? As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.27, Jatasya hi dhruvom mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmadapari harya ta natvam sochitumarhasi. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain. And for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. One should not fear death, rather one should prepare oneself for the next birth. One should utilize one's time in this human form to end the process of birth and death. It is not that to save oneself from death, one should entangle oneself in sinful activities. This is not good. Durga me pade mendasya kalapati gatimoho svakripa yustadana shantashantu avalambanam mukam karoti vachalam pangam langate girim yat kripantam ham vande shri guru dinatarinam. So I'd like to thank all the devotees for giving me permission to speak, and I pray to Lord Krishna and to my spiritual master that I may say something of use. So, Hari Bol, like that. So, the shloka begins with Vasudeva addressing Kamsa, "O great hero." That was to connect with Kamsa because the unembodied voice that came out in the sky, they called him a fool and a rascal, it unsettled him rather viciously. What to do? What was his immediate reaction? That the eighth son of this bride that I'm carrying is going to kill me. So immediate instinct is self-preservation. So without thinking, immediately grabbed the hair of Devaki, pulled out his sword, didn't even think, just chop her head off, because the instinct kicked in. Normally, Kshatriyas, so he's trying to settle him, Kshatriyas, they like to be heroic. This certainly was not a heroic act, but the Kshatriyas, they by nature like to have a good name, fame, distinction, and their purpose really is for the protection of the citizens. The Kshatriya might be a king, that is his duty to protect the citizens. But when the power and the prowess and all the wealth intermingled with pride goes to the head of the Kshatriya, then he becomes attached to his own infallibility, and he breaks away from the principles of religion which the Kshatriyas are supposed to uphold, and then he takes on the demoniac qualities. So this way, when they become like that, they are over-attached, then they begin to fear death. So Kshatriyas are not supposed to be afraid of death. So when that unembodied voice in the sky, which we know to be Narad Muni, explained, it said, "You fool Kamsa, you're carrying in your chariot the eighth child who's going to kill you." He became afraid, and he wasn't disturbed about breaking away from religious principles, because that was his nature. He was a demon, very demoniac. So he'd already, in his position, he'd usurped his father, threw him in jail, took over the kingdom. He was warring with the Yadu dynasty, and he was harassing the citizens. And the citizens were not happy. There was a very, very glum situation in Mathura. Then, on this particular occasion, it was a chance to become happy, that the lovely daughter of King Ugrasena, she was going to marry Vasudeva, the king of the Yadu dynasty. There was potential of peace, and it was a great jubilation. And in that jubilation, there was great festivities. Everybody was happy, walking around happy. And then there was the occasion of charity. So much charity was given to the family. They had their, I forget who gave it in charity. It wasn't Kamsa, but it was father of the bride. Vasudeva's father gave 400 elephants. 400 elephants. It's quite a lot of elephants. 1,000 chariots, 2,000 maidens to serve the king and queen. And there was this royal procession going down the road, a very, very beautiful procession, and everybody was there. And on that particular case, Kamsa, who is of unsteady disposition, just like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, that the mode of passion, that one is prone to be very happy and then become very distressed very quickly. So his disposition now is one of happiness. I'll drive you, let me drive you, I'll take you home. Of course, is a charitable disposition, but with a demon there's always a motivation. So there were a couple of motivations there. For first and foremost, that he was showing off that here is this powerful Kshatriya driving his sister. What a generous man. And then he was thinking, Vasudeva, he's in charge of the Yadu dynasty, so therefore I can make a pact with him and then his land will be mine. So thinking like this, then this voice comes out of the sky. So one moment of sublime happiness before this, everybody was happy, so why now? Why couldn't they just enjoy, why couldn't fate let it be that they could enjoy that one day of happiness and just finish the procession, whatever. But there was a bigger picture at stake. It's actually the biggest grand stage of it all, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was arriving very shortly, and his business was to give pleasure to the devotees. So therefore all the celestials, the demigods, are all taking birth in Vrindavan, are taking birth in Mathura, and of course his business was also to annihilate the demons. So when the unembodied voice, when Narad Muni at the behest of the demigod said, let's not waste time, let's get on with this, the play's about to begin. So scene one. So therefore when they made that declaration, then everything came into place, that Kamsa, then he had to act in such a way that he had to preserve himself. So Vasudeva, he was a king of the Yadus. He was a very, very expert king, and kings are expert in diplomacy, very expert. You have to be very diplomatic. It's described by Chanika Pandit that if someone is stronger than you, a kingdom is stronger than you, what do? You go to war with them, right? No, you make peace with them. And then if someone is equal to you, you befriend them, you get your daughter to marry their son and so forth, so you have a pact. And then if you're stronger, you conquer Kshatriya code. So Vasudeva, he had to adjust to Kamsa's whims using his expertise to flatter Kamsa, just to bring some reality to the situation. It was totally out of control. His beautiful wife of less than one day was just about to be beheaded. So he's explaining that the Kshatriyas are chivalrous, that chivalry means that you protect the old men, you protect the ladies, and you protect the children. That is what Kshatriyas do, and the fact that we will all die at some point, really, it's happened to everyone, so why ruin your great reputation worrying about that now when you don't actually know when that's going to happen? So, just as, so with the body, just as the attachment to the body comes when a soul is born into a body, so there is also old age, disease and death. That comes with the package. It's like one big parcel, you can't separate it. I bought a Microsoft computer the other day and I just wanted desktop, but no, I had to buy the other 3 packages with it. They all came with it, they wouldn't separate, so I paid a lot of money. So this is the same with all of this. As soon as you're born, you get your chance to enjoy life, but then all these other miseries are there along with it. So often people will ask at different points in time, maybe when someone's dying, when they're in distress, or when they're curious, is what is the purpose if life to be enjoyed? Why do we need death? You know, we're here, we're having life. What is the purpose of death in this whole big picture? So there are 2 answers, 2 main answers that we can work out that the first one is that the life of sense gratification is meaningless. So therefore, when we take born, we become attached, and with the attachment come all the different packages whereby we experience the tastes of this material world, all the different material rases, and we develop this situation where we become happy. So that is only temporary. Happiness cannot remain. When we become old, we lose our facilities to enjoy any form of happiness. Old age means suffering. Ask any old person with a walking stick around the place how they're enjoying life. Bound up by a net of attachments. It's just like it's described in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 1 to text 4, about the banyan tree. So if you've seen everybody, they still go to Navadweep, see the big Nimalitala market there, that big banyan tree there. That's probably the best example of a banyan tree around here. It used to be, Prabhupada said that it used to be much bigger than that, very, very big. And so you see with the banyan tree that you look at it and the roots, they're growing up, right? And then the branches are growing down. So they become indistinguishable. You don't know what was the root that was growing up to support the tree, or what was the branch that was growing down that became the root. And so this is this big tanglement there. That tree is just one big tangled tree. It's a beautiful, pious tree, but that's how it is. So that's how the material world is compared, that we become attached in one way and another way, that we can't remember what the original attachment was, what we're trying to sort of make ourselves happy with, because of all the other attachments that came in to facilitate that. We don't know what's going on. So therefore, while these attachments happen, then we become infatuated by our attachment to the body, and then death comes suddenly. So to understand the perfect platform of what the body is all about, we have to understand that we have to escape this entanglement that we get in. So we're so tangled up after so many different births that we don't know what is the real purpose of our existence. So therefore, to get out of this material nature onto that spiritual platform where we escape completely, for once and for all, this material entanglement, the death is a defining process for that. Second reason is that death also shows up the atheist. The atheist who doesn't believe in God, like Kamsa, sees God as a rival. He wants to enjoy God's creation, but he doesn't want to pay any respect that this is there for his enjoyment, but somebody put it there. He won't accept that. He goes, show me God. You show me God. Where is God? Can you see him? Can't see any God. Can't see him. Srila Prabhupada says that actually first you have to remove the cataracts from your eyes. Then you can see God. Now, as a person who is advanced in years, I have to say that I did have cataracts in both eyes. And it is a very difficult situation that your eyes just become blurry. So you're driving the car and you see a blur, and more so that if you want to read, you try and read like this, and then you put it back there, and nothing works, not even glasses. The cataracts actually cover you over. So then when the cataracts was removed, slowly they put a bubble in your eyes, and the bubble goes down. Immediately you've got this great vision. You can see again. It's like, wow, I can see a different person. Of course, this situation is temporary. It's not going to last forever, but it's good while it lasts. So Therefore, that is compared to the cataracts that people have in this material world. They can't see. They're blind to see the transcendental nature of this material, the real nature of this material world while they're here, because apariyamitas tvanyam prakritim midivaparam, that Krishna says that apart from this material energy, this is the higher energy, the spiritual energy, which is the living entity, which is eternal. So our society, because we become blind like this, it's a very hedonistic society now. It's unlimited enjoyment. Sort of to get unlimited enjoyment, everybody's striving for it now. There's so many catch cries, party hard, and so many others, take it to the limit. Just all these sort of sayings that just, yeah, come on, let's enjoy this material world. There's nothing to stop us. There is one thing stopping you, that's God. So religion. So therefore religion is copying and battering, because that is the last bastion stopping complete sense gratification. Right? So cut out religion. So therefore religion is under attack. So it's trying to eliminate that situation. So the second point is showing up the atheist is that you may think you can cheat death, but Krishna comes as death. Whether you accept Krishna or not, you can say, I don't believe in God, it doesn't matter. Death is going to come, except when you don't believe in God, death comes in the form of Yamaraj and the Yamadutas, and that's not very pretty when you die. So Krishna describes in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, time I am, destroyer of the worlds, and I've come to devour you all. So Srila Prabhupada is discussing this, often quotes the Mahabharata to emphasize this point of death where the living entity is bewildered. There's one point in time when the Pandavas were in the forest, exiled, and a Brahmin asked them to find his fire sticks that got tangled in the horns of a deer. They said, certainly will serve the Brahmins. So they went looking for these fire sticks that were tangled in the horns of deer, and they got lost in the forest somehow or other. And they couldn't see anything except that there was a lake further down. So Yudhisthira sent all his brothers to the lake to slake their thirst, but they never came back. So when he got there, he saw his dead brothers there. And then he also saw this big crane. And right in the middle of the lake, crane, bird, big neck. So the bird said to him, do not drink this water. He was very, very thirsty. That's why he said to his brothers, and he was the last one to go, so he was thirsty like anything. And do not drink this water until you've answered my questions. Of course, Yudhisthira was philosophically inclined and said, if you have questions to ask, I will answer. And then this bird, who Yudhisthira suspected to be a demigod, even his father Yamaraj, he thought, this is suspicious situations, that the colour in my brothers' faces hasn't drained yet, so they haven't been killed by Duryodhana or anybody. So there must be some sort of work of the demigods going on here. So Yamaraj asked all these questions, then he asked the famous question, is, what do you find the most amazing thing in this world? So of course, Yudhisthira answered that every day countless numbers of living entities are dying. Still, one is thinking and acting as if he's going to stay here forever. So then Yamaraj posed one more question. This is the last question. And the question was, what is the situation in this material world? So that could be tantamount as like, what is the news? Like in my native tongue Lithuanian, the word for news is žinia. It's like gyana, žinia. And my father always used to say when I was a little boy, he used to have the Baker Light radio, here, move over. I want to hear the news. I've got to hear the news. Maybe the Third World War has happened. Second World War just finished. Maybe the Third War started. So he's listening to the news. What is the news? So this is a similar situation. What is the situation in this material world? Everybody wants to know. That's why news is such a big industry. We have CNN, we have BBC, we have Al Jazeera, we have so many other types of news, Indian channels, which I haven't seen, but I know there's many there. They're all wanting to know. So Yudhisthira's reply was that this material world, it's full of ignorance, avidya. It is like this one big frying pan, and the living entity, he is the thing that is getting fried, and Surya is the fire, and the passing days and nights are the fuel, and seasons are like the stirring ladles. So you have Surya, the days and nights, and living entities being heated up, and the cook is time, and he's slowly frying all the creatures in this world. Material, miserable material existence, that is the news. So, of course, after that, Yamaraj was very pleased with Yudhisthira. He granted him the wish, okay, you can bring 2 of your brothers back to life. Which ones do you want? And one would think that he'd bring Bhima and Arjuna back to life, but he said, no, I'll have Nakula and Sahadev, please. He goes, why is that? It's because they're mothers of Madris, so that succession can continue. He said, that was very nice. You can have all your brothers back to life and drink to your heart's content. So anyway, that is the frying pan as frying living entities. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, verse 3, chapter 17, text 17, it's a shloka. Ayurhardi vaipumsam udyamashtum chayamasun tushyarte yat shano nitya uttama shlokavartaya. That the transcendental living entity, by the rising and by the setting of the sun, that is decreasing the life of every living entity, except for the one who utilises time for discussing topics of the all-good Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's a purport here which Prabhupada explains very nice couple of key points. That oral realization of that transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam implies self-realization. Such realization, even if momentarily understood from great souls like Sukadeva Goswami, complete one's life for eternity. Then the sun fails to rob a devotee of his duration of life, devotional service, or the purpose of his existence. Death is a symptom of the material infection of the living entity subject to the laws of birth, old age, disease and death. So the devotee's old age or disease in present life is but an impetus for such guaranteed eternal life. So in the material world, there's that slow process of dying which everybody is subject to. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, the 4th chapter, it describes that there's 4 types of death. So the first type of death is naimatika. So that type of death occurs when Lord Brahma's day is finished, and then a living entity goes back into the body of Vishnu for the duration of Brahma's day, duration of Brahma's night, then re-enters during the day. Second one, pravritika, and that is when there is a total devastation of the universe and every living entity goes back into the body of Mahavishnu. Now, the living entities like us have been there. We've been in this situation many times, many billions of births. That's why sometimes when we think, oh, well, I'll retrogress into my past life, see what I was in my past life. A good via medium will tell you which life do you want. You've had millions of lives. Which one do you want? What difference does it make? Which life? Because you've had millions of lives. Which one do you want? You've been everywhere. So the third process for death is ajantika. That's death in knowledge. That the death comes as illumination. One is able to leave the shackles of this material world. And the fourth type of death is nitya, one who is eternally dying. And that is us, all living entities, because we are dying all the time. Our cells are changing. Just when we're born, our cells are growing very, very strongly. We can see that a baby will change every week. You see, oh, he looks different, like that, developing very quickly. And youth comes very quickly, growth comes very quickly. Oh, well, you've grown so much. And then, of course, then in the Middle Ages, the cells stop growing so much, and then there's so much death in the cell. So that is always going on, that the body imperceptibly is going through so many changes. So we can understand that the death is sort of there in that situation as nitya. Krishna describes in Uddhava Gita, there are 24 gurus, of which one is fire. And just as we have fire flickering on the end of a candle, so the candle is flickering, it's always the same, but the fuel runs lower and lower and lower until the candle is gone. So that is the similar situation in our perception of death. The slow changes within the body. So the living entities, sometimes the living entities just go with the change. We see everybody every day, and we notice we're getting a little bit older. But sometimes we come across somebody who I haven't seen for like 10 or 15 years and say, oh wow, you've changed greatly. So that is a more perceptible change. But the living entities in their search for pleasure sometimes just forget about that. I have a situation, one of my relatives, young lady, she went with a partner to visit his parents across the other side of the nation. So if you know where I come from, Australia, there's one side of Australia, and then 5 hours later on the plane flight there's the other side called West Australia, which is connected to Australia. So they went there, and the partner, he saw all his friends there, and oh, so long since we've seen you, let's go and enjoy like we did when we were young. You know, let's go to football, let's go to the clubs, and you know, just like old times. And of course he was there for 3 days. He became bewildered. He had such a good time, just like the old times. And he's thinking, what have I been missing out on? There were two things. First of all, he forgot the reason why he left there in the first place. Couldn't have been that happy, because if you were really happy, you don't want to leave anywhere. And the second observation that he made, he said, I haven't seen these guys. This guy, Jack, he used to have this wonderful physique, really tight muscles, and used to train out and everything. Now he's got a big pot belly. And my friend Dave, he used to have this wonderful long hair, just long flowing hair. Now he's bald. And then the girl that everybody wanted to marry, and Fred, he married her, but now they're separated. So he's scratching his head. So this is the influence of time on the living entities. So if you turn up the heat in the frying pan, you go 15 years later, all his friends, they will not have time to hang out with him, because they've been becoming entangled in family life, so many different situations, and the wife and the children do not want to see the husband go out and enjoy with someone who just come along. And then you fry the living into you a little bit more 30 years down the line, and there's no question of enjoyment. Everything's finished. Material life is finished because all the senses are gone. It's like it said, King Paranjana, all the 9 gates are on fire. Everything. The nose, the ears, the eyes, problems with everything. So usually association at that point in time is just speaking how many operations you've had and how many bypasses you've had. That is common conversation amongst all the people. So the fact of the matter is that it's very tragic, because I had a situation with my mother, who was 93 years old when she passed away, but for the last 16 to 20 years of her life she gave a blow-by-blow description of what was going wrong with her. One thing after another: my toes, my arms, my chest, I can't breathe, I can't see, my nose is blocked, I get earaches. It was just going on, this slow dismantling of the body. It was sort of very painful to see. And then right at the end, she's staying there, lying there in bed, and she said, you know, life has gone past so quickly, just like a flicker. I just feel like my life has just gone like that. It's all gone. And I felt very, very sad at that point in time. Not really because that, you know, she's lamenting about the past, how her son, he never made it to be an architect or have a nice, comfortable situation, lived some sort of farm up there in northern New South Wales with the Hare Krishnas. Sort of so much lamentation. There was no joy there, telling her friends and members of society about that fact. That wasn't the sad point. The sad point was that I remember this beautiful bhajan by Govinda Das, Bhaja Hare Mana, Sri Nanda Nandana. So it says, Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala, that life is just like a lotus leaf, like a drop on a lotus leaf. Right, it just falls on the lotus leaf, hovers, and then plop, gone. Life's gone, just that drop. And what happened to your life? What happened? Govinda Das answers, Vipala Sevinu Kripana Jurjana, that, dear living entity, you have been sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. And so she's been giving you all these enticements, just like have a look at this, play with that, and you're very happily situated in that lap. And all of a sudden, she pushes you off, gone. Kamala Dalaja, that's gone. So the last verse, Govinda's prayers, Shravana Kirtana Shmarana Vandana Pada Sevana Datsyare Kripa Atma Nivedana Govinda Dasya Bilasire. The 9 processes of devotional service. Take shelter and run to them. Run away from that lap of the witch called Maya. Because even the precious moments, so that the life is very, very precious. Otherwise, that clock of time is ticking. Even though no matter you're old, you're falling apart, still you want to preserve your life to the last gasp. Just like Prabhupada says, the hands of the clock are ticking, and then they come together, and there's no more time. It's gone. Midnight. So, not even a moment longer. So, even if you want that, it's not there. Your allocated time is gone. So that is the attachment and fear that the materialist feels. And Srila Prabhupada said, the more attached you become, the less you understand about things. So that is not good. In the Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 16, text 8, there's a very nice sloka for the devotees. Nakaschin riyate tavadyavadashta hantaka etad artam hi bhagavan ahuta paramashivi. As long as Yamaraj is present here, no one shall meet with death. Great sages have invited Yamaraj to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore contain death. Living beings who are under his grip should take advantage by hearing this deathless nectar in the form of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So it is said that no one ever dies while listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't know if that is true. I've never heard of anyone die while hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Yamaraj is a devotee and he loves to hear the Srimad glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the sum and substance of our life, that actually if we're engaged in devotional service, then death is not an obstacle. The obstacle is that people hanker and lament about their situation in this material world, how it's unfulfilled. For the devotee, taking shelter of the lotus feet, that fulfills everything, gives the happiness that is there within and the purpose in life. A couple of days ago we had this, I went to the class here and there was a question that was asked of the Mataji. I think it was Jivanat Prabhu asked it. There was a question about devotees and demons, is that right? So, was that you? No? Demons? Anyway, so they said, should devotees associate with those demoniac people who have demoniac qualities? Because we're always told that, we associate together as devotees and avoid the demons so we don't become contaminated. So I thought, I did a bit of research, and in Srimad Bhagavad Gita it describes 4 types of demons in chapter 7, verse 15. Namam duskritino mudha prapajante naradama Mayapur jnana shuram bhavamashrita. That there's 4 types of demons, right? So there's the foolish demon, mudha, who actually is misled to think that I will be happy by doing whatever I have to do to please my body. There's the lowest of mankind, Naradama, and Prabhupada describes that lowest of mankind sometimes derides the devotees, just like Jagai and Madai, but then by the hand of Nityananda they were saved. And then there's the demons whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and then they give that illusion, they teach that illusion to everybody else. So that is very sinful. And then there's the atheistic nature of demons that are immediately out to destroy the devotees. Just like Kamsa, he was an enemy of Vishnu, he didn't like the Vaishnavas, he didn't like the Brahmanas, he was out to destroy the culture of God consciousness. So these types of demons are all there, and they're all there in this material world. What to do? So Srila Prabhupada gave this very nice class, Srimad Bhagavatam class in Nairobi in October of 1976, where he described himself and all his followers as Rupanugas, followers of the 6 Goswamis. Just like we chant the prayers to the Goswamis, Krishna Kirtana Ganana Prabhu, that they were dancing and chanting in ecstasy like madmen. So Srila Prabhupada said, we're following in the footsteps. We're dancing and also chanting like madmen. We're Rupanugas, following in the footsteps. And that means that we're dancing and chanting. We are in saris, we are in dhotis, we are wearing tilaks, we got shaved head, we got bindis. And he said, that is very beautiful. He said, prayaschita, very, very nice to see. And then he goes on to say in his lecture that foolish people and rascals may say that that is not so good or that is not necessary, But he said, yes, that it is very necessary. Shaven heads, once again he said that. Shaven heads, tilaks, saris, prayashita, very nice to see. Why? Because it is agyata sakriti, that we are chanting and dancing in public and someone comes past. Oh, that's the Hare Krishnas, agyata sakriti. Immediately they know they are devotees, Hare Krishnas, agyata sakriti. They are chanting this. So this is the secret weapon that we have in this material world, that we engage so many people, whether they don't want to be engaged or not, in spiritual life. Sometimes you see the chanting party goes past and there is a different reactions. It's like Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes elaborately Lord Nityananda's plan to set up a marketplace of the holy name. So this is like the chanting party also, with the marketplace. So we're chanting and we're selling the goods for free. What are the goods? The holy name. Looking for customers. Of course you get them. People come along and they join. Some people wave, some people smile, some people want to give you a high five, at least they do in Australia. Some people chant and just they become the invitation to participate. Even hearing is nice. Even the people who don't want to hear. Like one time we were walking past in Byron Bay, and there was a little shelter there where a lot of, I call it Desolation Row, a lot of desolate people are there. There was this guy in a wheelchair. Old guy in a wheelchair had a bottle of whiskey in one hand and he was shaking his head going, no, 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 no. Don't know what he was shaking his head about, but he heard the holy names, went right into his heart. Where else would he get spiritual life? Where else would that come? So his life has been saved because he was just right there at the right time to hear the chanting of the holy names. So therefore, this, the business of a devotee actually is to take as many souls out of that big fry pan and take them back to the spiritual realm. That is what we do. Any questions or comments? Yes.
So we notice in the shloka that the word mature is mentioned twice. And it does seem like you Hare Krishnas, you talk about death a lot and preparing for it and getting ready for it. And those other people, they don't think about it enough and they just, death. It's all about death. Well, I just wanted to tell one story.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was in the Toronto temple. And at the Sunday feast,
take the volume down a little bit, I think.
In the Sunday feast, there was a gentleman there in front of Gauri Thai, and he was dancing like incredible. He was like in his 50s, and he's jumping and jumping and jumping. And I was thinking, man, this guy is so ecstatic. He's just jumping up and down. He's like, you could see, well-to-do, very nicely dressed, but he was just having the kirtan of his life. And I'd seen him before, but I've never seen him dance like this. And he was just jumping and jumping and jumping. And I looked over and he went up really high and he came down on the ground. Dead. He left his body and he was lying there dead. And I was thinking, wow, what a cool way to leave your body. Dancing in front of Gauri Thai. So that is why we do talk about death. Because this is a preparation. We want to go thinking of Krishna, obviously. So obviously if you're jumping up and down in kirtan, you leave your body, you're there. You made it. Straight back, I would imagine, right? Because what else are you concentrating on? So, another thing you said which kind of is interesting, you said that when you telling that story of that guy who went back to West Australia, and he left there because he wasn't happy, and you don't leave somewhere, you want to stay if you're happy. So is that why everybody in the material world wants to stay here? They don't want to hear this philosophy because they're happy. Maybe they're just happy.
Oh, that's a fact. Well, first and foremost about death, why we talk about death a lot is because we simply understand that is a fact. It's a law of nature. It is something that is very fearful, because if you talk about you're going to lose somebody or you're going to lose a possession, you don't want to talk about it. You know, somebody said, hey, you've got lots of money, you should give me some of your money now. You know, I'm serious, give me your money. You don't want to talk about it, a bit fearful. So anyway, with death, it's like the devotee, well, it's thing, like we talk about gravity. You know, you try and jump out this window, yeah, you're going to break a leg. You know, gravity's there. So similarly, death is there. So we have to be prepared. The other thing is, of course, we egg each other to be on guard through our different, you know, sadhu sangha. We encourage each other, come on, keep on going, you can do it, because the material nature, she's Maya, Vipala 7, Maya, she's full of goodies. She's offering goodies to everybody to delight our senses, you know, and none of us are immune. So therefore we take shelter of Krishna, we take shelter of our God brothers to sort of escape this situation where we get caught up in the situation again. So we can understand that people, whatever they have, they are happy with it. Even if people have very little, some people are living out on the street, but they have their community. They're just happy because they're living in their community, and they're fearful of the unknown. So what is death is the unknowable, and what is the unknowable is the ignorance of the soul. So basically you can put it all down to the fact that nobody knows that they're not this body. It's just a simple fact, like, hey, you know, we're not this body. What are you talking about? You know. So this is where it starts. So preaching begins not only, you know, with us, but with all the other religions. We are not this body. This is the beauty of this sloka. Jai Prabhu. Jai, all glories, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Simba.